Hello, everybody. I am here about to turn on Instagram Live. I want to thank everyone from YouTube that is watching this right now. I really appreciate you being here at the very beginning of my channel. So exciting. This isn't exactly how I figured my videos would start. I thought they would be like edited works of art about the beauty of nature, which I'm getting there. So these are my Instagram lives. I'm recording them. My phone is like right here. And that's what's gonna kick off my YouTube channel. And so I welcome you here. I'm gonna start my Instagram live. And I just wanna appreciate, I am Jess. I am your book witch. And I'm also the book bruja. And I'm also super excited to be here. I'm feeling super blessed, even though we're in the midst of an F-ton of chaos. So I just want to offer what I can. Okay. I just set up Instagram Live, and we are waiting for that to begin. They're telling my followers that I have gone live. It is 11:59. I want to ask people how their gardening's going so far. I know a lot of attention's been turned to the gardening kind of self-sufficiency and food sustainability, food sovereignty, how much we rely on the grocery stores to get us our needs met. I think that's being illustrated to even the people that weren't focused on sustainability and self-sufficiency. I think that a lot of people who don't think about those things are thinking about them now. So I want to welcome that energy for real. I'm going to light a candle for us. I am a Sagittarius. This candle is lavender. It smells amazing. I'm going to light this candle. Every time I do a book witch session, I light a candle to hold the container. Fire is like hella important to me. It is warmth, it is light, it is so pivotal to us being humans that we tend and carry the flame, that we choose to gather in that way. Yep. So I'll go ahead and get started. Good day to everyone. Today's a Tuesday. I always go live on Tuesdays at noon Pacific time. And this started last week. And it's not the easiest for me to show up on camera. I'm used to being like kind of the backup supporter and cheerleader for the people that want to be on camera. Like I'm the one holding the camera, for example. So it takes a little bit of act of bravery to show up here and share what I know. Speaking of what I know, let me give you a brief explanation of my gardening history till now. So when I was a little kid, I lived in trailer parks and apartments. My mother never gardened. My great-grandmother did though, and I remember picking tomatoes from her garden. I remember she made like all her own sauces. I remember like examples in which there were people that were gardening in my youth, but it was never like, I never did anything to do it. So when I got to be like, I was in college for nursing and my daughter was growing up and I decided that gardening, yeah, like I want an herb garden. That was like my first interest. I was like, I want herbs because it makes your food taste good. I grew basil in containers, thyme, oregano, mint, all the herbs. And that was probably in 2008. is the first gardening experience I've ever had by myself. And later, after that, I basically decided that there were lots of dumpster diving and working at restaurants. I realized how much food is wasted and how much we take advantage of what we have, how we don't understand how long it takes to grow something, because you see a lot of people just like throwing shit away and it's not sustainable, it's not helpful. All of the food that, I mean, all the gas, just the transportation, like wild thing how we butcher chickens in the Americas, send them over to get processed in a different country, and then they ship them back to us to sell. And that's just like mind-blowingly ridiculous. It's ridiculous. We don't need to do that. I think if we make even a little bit of effort to grow something like I did with my very first herb garden, I think that it's going to benefit all of us because self-reliability is going to be important in our future. Self-responsibility. As humans who eat, let's grow some food. Okay. Ang Namo, Gurudev Namo. In the spirit of my teacher, Everest After, I want to ask all energy involved to help me speak this clearly. May it benefit the people who need it to be seen, this information. May all energy return to its original source so that we can fully show up here as ourselves. And as Everest Asher says, I hope that you can see all your options. May you see all your options. I made some incremental notes. Because planting by the phases of the moon, first of all, if you don't know the phases of the moon, there's about 8. You know, there's different things that you can do on each phase of the moon. And further on, there's ways that you can plant within the zodiac. I don't know how to plant within the zodiac. I'm just now starting to learn astrology, symbolism, and archetypes from my mentor, Star Mama Rose. She's excellent. She is teaching me all sorts of astrology things. I have not planted by the zodiac, but you know, every sign, what I've heard is every sign has a different area. So like for Sagittarians, it's the thighs. I don't really know that many other signs. I want to direct you to a YouTube video though. There's a, what was it called? There's a YouTube video that also utilizes the Farmer's Almanac to figure out when to grow things and when to neutralize things and then when to kill things. And if you want to look up that YouTube video, it says planting by the signs and phases of the moon. And you can just look that up on YouTube. Or you can get the Farmer's Almanac and they'll tell you which zodiac sign that you would need to plant or cull something. So I'm not going to talk about that today. You can do your own research on planting by the zodiac signs. I am just going to discuss planting by the moon signs. Okay. Also, to be specific, I live in the Northern Hemisphere, and most of my business, since I don't like the large transportation issues with fossil fuels and stuff, I like to focus all of my information on the Northern Hemisphere because that's what I'm most experienced as. I don't have a lot of experience with the Southern Hemisphere, but I do know that whatever phase it is in the Northern Hemisphere, the opposite will be true in the Southern Hemisphere. So there's 2 factors that science has proved lunar gardening. So there's lunar gravity, the pull of the water in the soil, in the same familiar way that it pulled at the ocean tides. We kind of can recall all of those different ways which moisture comes and then goes. And also another factor is moonlight, as in the light that is on the plant as it's already in the soil. Moonlight is another factor that also leads to how animals behave, how we behave. You know, like when it's light at night, animals are more likely to procreate and hunt for food and all those things, just as if we are. We tend to have parties on a full moon, gather on a full moon. We can see in the dark. So we're going to apply these universal cycles also to planting your veg. And the way that we're going to do that is talk about each phase, or at least 4 of them. I know there's 8, but we can talk about 4 of them. The leafy greens, let's start on the new moon. So the moon is new. We have a new moon coming up on the day after tomorrow. It's Wednesday. The new moon is the darkest time of the month cycle. It's also blood time. It's also a time of understanding. It's also a time of reflection. The new moon signals the end of the old cycle and the beginning of the new. So on this time, on the new moon to the waxing crescent moon, you want to focus on leafy greens. So things like kale, butter lettuce, all of your chards, anything that you eat the lettuce, herbs, you want to eat those leaves. So anything that you grow that you want to harvest for the leaves, you would plant at the new moon through the waxing crescent moon and then to the first quarter moon. Okay, so from new to full, from darkness to illumination, that is called waxing. Okay, so it's all like wax on, bring the light on. So from the first quarter to the full moon, that's like when the right side of the moon is illuminated and the left side is dark. We're growing in light till the full moon. At that time, you want to plant all your above ground bearing food to eat. So you want to sow and to transplant at this time. The above ground fruit. So there's like tomatoes, squash, cucumbers, corn, all of your annuals. So if you have to plant these plants every year, then you will utilize from the new moon to the full moon. Use that time. Use that time to plant the things that grow above ground, that when you would harvest it, it's already above ground. Okay, so then the moon is full. The moon is at the most lit. You are probably feeling all the culmination of the cycle that's happened until now. When that moon goes from full and then it gets darker all the way to the third quarter, where the white of the moon is on the left and the darkness is on the right, that's only in the northern hemisphere. It would be opposite in the southern hemisphere. So for those, you want to plant all of the below ground. Hi, Phaedra. You want to plant all the below ground root crops. So we got like things like beets and leeks and onions and potatoes. We got carrots, got garlic, shallots, all that stuff that goes below the ground from the new moon. So you're celebrating the new moon. And then from the new moon to the third quarter moon, you want to start below ground things. When the third quarter is over and then you're really getting to that dark point of the new moon again, that's a good time to pull all of the cuttings that you want. Say you want to start a new sweet potato plant. Say that you plant your tubers. So if you're in the third quarter, you're planting your tubers, and also right after that third quarter, you would want to take from what you've already planted. It's also a good time to prune your fruit trees, to plant the fruit trees. Speaking of, from the full moon to the new moon, from brightness to darkness, is a good time to plant your perennial fruit-bearing trees and shrubs. So these would be your blackberries, your raspberries. It would be your apple tree that you're going to plant and grow for 20 years. It would be, let me think of what else. Currants. I never planted currants, but things of that nature would be planted from the third quarter through the waning crescent. We're talking about the waning phase, and then go to the new moon. It's also a good time right before the new moon, right before the dark. So you're in like waning crescent time. Right before then, it's a really good time to make your compost teas, to amend your soil. It's a good time. It's a good time to harvest. It's a good time for drying and storing. So I just wanted to like name what you would do during the phases. And I have one friend on Instagram. Let me know if you have any questions. And then I want to explain how you would use this right now. So many of you have already started starts, and if you haven't, don't worry, it's still spring. Like you have nothing. Oh, and then some people live in hot climates, and then they already have like tomatoes and squash growing. I was looking at my friend in Florida, and she has so many things growing. I'm like, wow. My last frost date here in the mountains of Northern California, it goes by elevation too, because as you get colder, as you go up in elevation, our last frost date isn't for another month. Like we have a very short season and we have to buy short season seeds for our type of growing. Okay, so let's go step by step. You're interested in lunar gardening. You have a whole bunch of stuff you want to eat. You want to eat broccoli, you want to eat lettuce, you want to eat tomatoes, you want to make a salsa during the summer, all those things. If you haven't started yet, I'm going to talk about that, okay? So first, the very, very, very first thing you want to figure out is where your zone is. So it goes from like 1 to like 10 or 12 or something like that. I'm like a zone 7B, something like that. And that's going to help you understand when you would start planting. So if you have experience, you already know what I'm talking about. And if you don't have experience, you can look on the back of like your seed packet and figure out when that would grow in what zone. Usually there's like a colorful little map on the back of your seed packet. And then if you buy your seeds from like a more local place, there probably won't be one of those and you'll have to go look online. So what elevation/planting zone are you in? Figure that out for beginners. Okay. So question number 2, or question number 1, if you already know what that is, what needs to be planted first? The cold tolerant crops. So anything that frost can sit on, and by the way, frost doesn't kill because it's cold. It kills because the ice sits on top of the plant and then freezes the plant. So it's not just because it's cold. That's why they call it the last frost date. The last frost date is the last time, an average. It's not even accurate. It's an average of the last time there was a frost that might kill your plants. Okay, so let's talk about some cold tolerant veggies. We have, lettuce, broccoli, cauliflower, cabbage, onions, garlic. So I've experienced garlic and onions being planted in the fall, the year before you want to harvest them. That's not how everyone does it. That's how I do it. So all your cold tolerant, plants. Gosh, I just had nachos. They were delicious. I haven't finished them yet. Okay, so all the cold tolerant plants that you would want to plant, those will come first. So the question is, what needs to be planted first? So lettuces are cold tolerant, even though you don't want them to be frozen by a frost. So let me quickly touch on how you can protect your plants from frost. So anything that keeps that ice, those little tiny ice crystals from sitting on your plant and freezing the leaves, that's going to be good. I've used like chicken wire that's like bent in kind of like a cone and then threw a sheet on it, like an old sheet. I've used that. Of course, you could use a greenhouse, but I don't have one necessarily. I have a sunroom, and that's what I use to keep my vegetables and plants nice and warm when it's cold. You could also do like a hoop tunnel. So that's when if you have a raised bed, or even not, if you have a raised bed, you can use like PVC pipe or something to like frame the top of the garden bed and then put something on top of that to keep it. And it's not something you have to do every night. It's when you garden, you kind of have to pay attention to when there's a frost alert or when the temperature gets down low to frosting. See, last night for me in zone 7B, we had temperatures of 30, like 37 or something like that. And if it's under 40, then I consider that like maybe I should cover up the plants. Yeah, there's lots of ways you can Google to protect your plants from frost, and paying attention and remembering they're out there is probably one of the best suggestions I have. Um, Moving on. So the cold tolerant crops come first. I named them. And then let's see if I'm trying to think about, there's so many climates, you guys, and then there's like so many microclimates to consider. So I'm always trying to make my information accessible and able to apply to people in lots of different situations. That's one personal goal of mine. Okay, so after you figure out what you want to plant, say it's time to start planting your cold crops. Then you want to figure out what moon phase you're in. So to figure that out, you can go to time and date. Where's that? Oh yeah, I'm on my phone, silly me. Okay, there's a thing called time and date, and I saved a shortcut onto my phone so I can just like tap it and then it comes, I'm in a meeting right now. Then you tap it and then it comes into, love you. Oh, my darling. Okay, so you tap it and then it shows you exactly what percent and what moon phase you're in. And then right below it, it says what moon phase you were in previously, like when that was, and then the next upcoming moon phase. So this morning I checked it and it's like 2%, and you'll see it on my Instagram. It says 2%, and then it says the next new moon is on like April 22nd. Tomorrow's Wednesday. Yeah, April 22nd. That'll help you just to know. I mean, you can just go outside and look one night, but if you want to know how close you are to the older phase and the newer phase that you're about to enter into, then that's a quick tap app that you could have. It's timeanddate.com, I'm pretty sure. And I just put a shortcut on my phone. It's super easy. So say you want to plant broccoli, okay? Because question number 3 was what phase is it in now? You want to plant broccoli, but it's almost new moon, right? So when you would plant broccoli would be a little bit after the first quarter moon, okay? So since you're not eating broccoli for the leaves, not that you can't cook broccoli leaves, they're delicious in a stir fry, but since you're not eating the broccoli leaves, you wouldn't plant it on the new to waxing crescent. You would wait until like the first quarter moon, and then you would start that broccoli. There's lots of testimonials about the experience that people are getting from lunar planting, and it's all valid. It's all, I mean, science can prove it a little bit. People's experience can prove it a little bit. My own experience has proved it very well. My yield and something about like kind of like the insects that attack your plants and like kind of like blight and all kinds of other pests and disease. I haven't had as much experience with all that when I did lunar planting versus when I was just like willy-dilly, like I want to eat this, so I'm gonna plant it in the soil. I think there's lots of merit and value in planting to the moon phase. Say you're ready in April, the end of April right now, say you're ready to plant tomatoes. Because question number 1, your zone, okay? Question number 2, it's time. And question number 3, it's closer or after the full moon, okay? So, well, did I say tomatoes or potatoes? I meant potatoes, but I think I said tomatoes, I'm sorry. Okay, so you want to plant tomatoes. Potatoes! You guys, I think I should like block the video so I can't see myself because I get a little nervous on camera. That's what I'm saying. Okay, you're planting tomatoes. You're going to wait till after the full moon because that's when below ground crops really enjoy that moisture, you know. And then you figure out when you're going to plant them, and it's all gravy, and it's all beautiful. I was really hoping that there would be people on live so we can talk about what we're planting. Okay, so since my last frost date isn't for like another 20 days or so, I just have little sprouts and seedlings right now of my crops. Also, I'm trying to, my guy is making a raised bed garden from our front lawn. It's like we're replacing the front lawn with food, because that makes sense. Food, not lawns. Our old vegetable garden was like way away from the house. And Chris studies, my partner studies permaculture, and I get a little bit of information from him, but he realizes that a kitchen garden really needs to be close to the kitchen. And I was like, yes, you're so right. Kitchen garden does need to be close to the kitchen. Because if you want to go out there and get some like a pepper for dinner or some basil for your pasta or whatever, then you have to walk from your kitchen to the place you harvest it. So permaculture teaches you about zones. So you need like this zone, and then eventually it gets bigger and bigger, and the compost is over here, and your livestock's over here, blah, 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 blah. So my garden's a little behind. Plus, we were going to move. We're still moving. It's just life feels so uncertain. So we live in California, and we're going to move back to Oklahoma this summer. And that's my life. So we weren't planning on having a garden here, or starting a garden, or buying a dump trailer of soil, or erecting all of these raised beds. But we're doing it, even if we move in a few months, because we're crazy. I don't know. No, we really believe in like food sustainability and growing it for the highest nutrition. And so it's worth it, you guys. I was calling this like when the whole virus thing started, I was like, you guys, we have to garden. Because I was feeling the same way myself. I was like, you guys, it's really important that we start gardening like right now, like right now, like right now. Panic, a little bit of panic about relying on the grocery store. It's real. So my garden's a little behind, and we also garden other things professionally. And I am more taken to the cycles of life every day. Like going back from the time I thought that life, you were meant to be miserable and that life was going to suck and there were no solutions. That was like my 20s. And now I'm in my 30s. And I realize there are solutions, that life isn't miserable, that there are cycles that you can rely on. If you guys have heard me on my Instagram stories at all, I always talk about relying on the sunrise and the sunset. Sunrise and the sunset is like my biff. No offense, Misty. I'm just talking elemental best friends forever. Yeah, so I'm probably going to do another live about cycles as pertains to like the wild feminine. This was about moon cycles and planting. And you can join me on next Tuesday at noon for another Instagram live. Or if you're here on YouTube, you can subscribe to my channel. I'm doing these every Tuesday at noon Pacific. I really appreciate you being here. If you are interested in developing, conjuring, bringing forth to life a journal in which you could track your gardening. You could even draw like little boxes and like make little maps, and then so you can have like your rotating crop schedule, and you can write the dates in which you planted this, and you can write how much yield you got and under what moon phase in which you planted those things. If you're interested in doing that with me, your book witch, I'm still offering my $35 beta price for 3 consultation calls and 1 hardcover recycled book from me. And this offer is available until the new moon. So as long as I upload this on YouTube really quickly, which I will, you guys should have a couple hours to get in on that, YouTube fam. And then Instagram, you guys have been hearing me promote it over and over again because I do desire to declare my worth at the full price of my book witch services. But I also understand that we're in the middle of this fucking pandemic and shit's weird. And I want to offer my services, but I don't want to be inaccessible to people who would need this. For people who really desire and need a container, a paper vessel, as I like to call it, safe space, a place to go where you don't need other people to be there, a place to express, and a place to be seen and heard. You can make a journal with me for 3 calls. The first one's called Gathering the Bones, where I take all kinds of information about you. It's like a personality quiz, and I ask you all kinds of things about yourself. And then on the next call, then we will do spell weaving. And with the spell weaving is like you choose a spell that you would like your book to be bound by, and then I'll bring you all kinds of beautiful covers for your journal, and you get to choose which one is your favorite. And then after I bind and ship your journal, we'll have one more meeting, and that meeting will be a book blessing where the book, my energy is completely released from the book. You receive the book is yours, and then you can begin writing in it, and the book is born to you. So if you're interested, the link is below. Link is in my bio, Instagram, and I would love, love, love to make a book with you guys. You could use it for your lunar planting. I've had people make like kitchen witch books. I've had people make journals. I've had people make like full moon diaries. It's a really unique experience catered to exactly what you need and exactly who you are right now. I hope you guys are finding so much joy, and I hope that you're able to feel it, because it's hard to feel it in the midst of all this crazy shit that's going on. It really is. And I commend you, and I appreciate you for being here with me. And I will see you next Tuesday. Okay, if you're on Instagram, come find me. I'm at Mountain Bound Books. And from there, on Wednesday, tomorrow, new moon, the 22nd, that's when I raise my prices for my Book Witch offering. But it's also where you get to vote for the next week's live topic. And I'm going to be doing this every week. I appreciate you guys so much. And I will be seeing you next. Don't forget to vote tomorrow for what you want next live's topic to be. And then I will see you on Tuesday. Okay. Blessed be, sweet loves.